wanted my brother Daryl to kind of take a few minutes to just break it down. While we give Daryl a hand. And I'm so proud of not only like Jamel and Daryl and just the trajectory that they're on. They're just brilliant. I'm just like happy to be around them, seriously, right? But when I see my gifts, right? And then you get around other folks and we truly become that fellowship and that body, you see how things can work together. In other words, the ear shouldn't be telling the eye, you need to see, right? Right? No, the eye has to be the eye. And one of the things that I realized with Daryl, I said, Daryl, I got all of these ideas, or I got this big idea, but what I need someone to help me think about is execution, right? There's a difference. And Daryl has been really instrumental in the last 2 months to be able to take that grant and help me think things through from soup to nuts in a very sequential order so that we're going to launch this out in February. But maybe you can give them a thumbnail sketch of what we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is called the Proximity Project. It's a working title. What we're doing is we're bringing people from the community to work with people in the community, particularly people who've been released. And if I could very quickly, the one story that I was waiting to kind of be brought out and that's in the book, and you helped me to see it differently, is the title of the book is Seeing Jesus. And that's part of what this project is about, seeing Jesus, seeing. And it is this transformative story that happens in the book of Luke. How many of you are familiar with the woman with the alabaster box? Okay, raise your hand if you heard of the woman with the alabaster. Come on, y'all, don't be shy, all right? So it is Luke who tells this story about a woman who comes as Jesus is reclining at the table of a Pharisee. And the Pharisees are the religious aristocracy. It's a modern-day senator, modern-day congressman. It would be what we would call today a black tie gala. People of influence and authority would have been there. And Jesus is reclining at the table, and this woman who has not been invited and who certainly has no really business being there comes in and breaks this alabaster box open. This perfume fills the entire room. And then she gets on her knees and begins to cry and wipes her tears. Her tears begin to soak his feet, and she takes her hair and wipes his feet with her hair. And people are looking stunned. Who is this woman? Who let her in? And it's silence. And the man who's the head of the house, who is Simon, the Pharisee, he says, in his mind, he doesn't say it out loud, he says in his mind, if Jesus knew what kind of woman she was, he wouldn't be found in such company. And that's a message in itself, how people will try to tie you to what you did in the past.
That's right.
How some people can never see the good in you because they're so focused on what had happened. And Jesus, being God, knowing the thoughts of this man, begins to give him an analogy. And the analogy was really simple. He says, look, if there's a creditor and has two people that owes him, one owes 500 pence, that's the money of the day, another owes 50 pence, and he releases them both of the debt, which one will be happier? And Simon knows where Jesus is going, and he says, well, I guess the one who owed more. And he said, you're right, because he who is forgiven little loves little. But this is the point. Jesus says something profound right before he gives that analogy. He says, do you see this woman? And what Jesus is saying really is that he is concerned as much about what we do to other people as how we see other people. And Pastor really helped me to even just notice that scripture in an entirely new light. Because sometimes we can do things and serve people, but our heart isn't in it. There is a scripture that says that man looks at the outward appearance, but God searches the heart. And so this project is really, when I say this because when he told me about this project, and I have this sort of academic mind of creating, that's my background, creating classes and making it academic. And so my thing is, we're going to come in and we're going to help people get on their feet, teach them life skills. But then you begin to show me about what the context of that scripture is, and that it isn't a one-way street. Sometimes what happens is we're serving people and we feel like, I'm serving them, but all that can happen is that only they can learn from me. And so what Pastor was telling me is that this program is going to be different. It's called the Proximity Project because it is about us being proximate, being close, being actually able to see people differently. And I think that's really the key, how we see people. So for 10 weeks, once a week, we're going to be bringing people together, and it's going to be a fellowship where we are, and it's an exchange. We're teaching life skills. We're bringing in people who are mentors, people who are going to be facilitators, people who are also going to be just experts in their field, and then we're learning from them. Julio's given me this wonderful opportunity to do the Impact program. I've learned as much, and I can say this for a fact, I've learned as much from Impact and the folks in Impact as I hope they learned from me. And that's what we're doing with this proximity project. We're teaching life skills. That's on one side of the street, but the other side is we're learning how to relate to people differently, how we see people differently, how we actually truly deal with people from the heart. And so that's the proximity project. I invite all of it. It's going to be a spectacular program. Anything that pastor's involved with is going to be spectacular. And I don't say this to brag, but I trust my cooking. Anything I'm involved with. And we are bringing people together. And I want to say this, because Pastor and I share this. We're bringing people together who, it's not just about, because sometimes what happens in the church is, it's like, well, I just want to serve. Okay, I understand that. But we want people who are going to serve, who are going to engage them, but also people who know what they're talking about. Come on, somebody. The Bible says that Daniel was skilled in math and sciences. You got to know what you're talking about. And so we're bringing people together who are experts in their field, people who are great at what they do, and we are going to be really doing this as a transformative piece to change the way that ministry is done. When I was sick, did you come and visit me? When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was thirsty, did you give me something to drink? Not how much scripture did you know, not how often did you go to church, did you get baptized, but what have you actually done with the word that's on the inside of you? And that's what the Proximity Project is about. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. So.